So four guys get together, a couple of Dell guys, and you're like, all right, man, let's go start this business, this company. All right. So explain to me what GreenPal is exactly, and maybe some of the challenges you guys might have had, because of course you didn't have the tech down. So you had to figure that, shit out. So how'd that all work out, man?
Yeah. So the only thing that we had going for us is we had a chip on our shoulder. We really wanted to build something big. We were four dudes that were really motivated, and I knew the industry. I knew like I had the scars for the problems that needed to be solved. So at least we had that right, but we really had everything else wrong. We didn't know the tech side of it. We literally thought we could just pay a dev shop to build what we thought GreenPal should be, and then we would just market it and be off and going. And so we tried that, and so we pulled our money together, and we pulled like $150,000 together, and paid a development shop 150 grand to build what we thought GreenPal should be. And it took like 9 months, and then we launched it, and it was a total failure, just dead on arrival. Didn't
Wow.
have the features it needed. It was clunky, hard to use. Like, and if you build it, they will not come.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
it was
really.
just a real gut check. And so we had to like we had to like come to grips with, oh, we're playing a different game here. This is not the same thing that I was doing. Even though I was a second time founder, I was very much a first time founder all over again. And I had to like be honest with myself, and it's like, if we're going to be in the tech business, we're going to have to learn how to build tech. And so we had to rebuild the whole thing ourselves while learning how to code. And so went to YouTube University and took every online class we could take. One of my co-founders went to a real boot camp where it was 9 hours a day, and they taught him server side engineering, and we learned while building the app. Yeah, we had this other app in the store that we could test with, and we did hustle up like 100 people to use it, just through passing out flyers, any means necessary to get people to use it. And so we were learning from them, using the terrible app that we paid it to have built, learning from them, and then that feedback was going into what we were rebuilding it, and what we were actually doing the second time around. And so that helped a lot, because then we were building in based on actual feedback and not assumptions.
So how
And so
hard? I'm sorry to interrupt, but how hard was it though, just even mentally for you? Because obviously you just sold this company. It was doing 10 million a year. It was a successful company. You're making a lot of money. I'm sure you had a nice home and a family, and you got a bunch of money in the bank, and you're like, shit, I'm free. What the hell? I don't even have to do that. I get, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm
no,
guessing that you were pretty financially stable at that time, and you're trying to and you're like still hustling, still working, still after it, still going, trying to build something, and you got all this money in the bank. And so what, like, mentally, was that difficult to overcome that, or you were just like so passionate, so on it, you just wanted to do something bigger?
really good question, and you nailed it. So I built and sold this company, and it was like all of my future days were paid for from that moment forward. I didn't have to do anything. And I tried to not do anything. I read a book by Robert Kiyosaki called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And in that book, he talks about this guy called a capitalist. And all this dude does is like he's in the middle of deals and he's doing investing, and like I'm like, man, that sounds really cool. I would just like to do that. And I tried to do that, and it was actually really boring. And so I thought, man, I need another mission. I need another like, if what is the reason I get out of bed in the morning? And if I didn't, why would it matter? And if it wasn't for me, then what? And like, there was no answer. There was no then what. My business was the answer to that question. So that was what forced me to get back in the game. Now that said, the guy that bought my last company, he was probably worth $100 million, and he was a real arrogant dude, but he did give me a good piece of advice. Um, when we got the deal done, it was super contentious, and I'll never forget. He's like sitting at my desk, or I guess now his desk, or the desk he owned. He would never sit at it, but um, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to give you some advice. You're independently wealthy now, and let me just give you some free advice. It's a lot easier to make $1 million than it is to hold on to $1 million and or keep $1 million. He said a lot of stupid investment ideas are going to be coming across your plate now, and there's going to you could very easily like waste all of this money and go back to zero again, and that scared me. And so I took all the money I made from that business and like plowed it into single family homes. So just bought rental property all over the place. And so then I was cash poor. I was like the poorest. I was poor all over again.
You were the poorest millionaire that you knew.
I had no cash. I had all this property and it was cash flowing. But I was using that cash flow to buy more property. And so I was poor all over again. And that was kind of what I needed at the time, because that dude was right. I mean, there was a lot of stupid ideas that were coming across my plate that I would have invested in if I had all this cash sitting around. So that was something that I did as like a forcing function, because I never wanted to go backwards. I never wanted to like ever pick up a weed eater again. I never wanted to go pull weeds out of somebody's garden again. I never wanted to pick up cigarette butts again. And so I did that on purpose. And so when I had the idea to like build a GreenPal, it very much had to like sing for its supper day one. Like I didn't plow all the money back into it. So I had to hustle all over again and literally passing out flyers. And it was kind of what I needed at the time. I needed that humility. And I needed like those lessons all over again, because that was what was required at that stage of the game. Had I had, $2 or $3 million to throw at the idea, we would have just pissed it all away and burnt it on things that didn't matter. So it was exactly what I needed. And it was almost by design. I didn't quite intentionally like set out to do it that way, but it was the way that worked for me. And so that's how I experienced it. And it was very humbling. It was humbling to sell a $10 million business and then go back to try and like beg somebody to use this crappy ass app that I just built for a $27 lawn mowing. And literally taking their call when that $27 lawn mowing didn't go right. Like it was very humbling, but it was cool. It was what I needed.
Well, I think this is a great lesson for anybody that is going into business. Is you have to do the hard things. And not only do you have to do the hard things, but I mean, sometimes you have to do everything. You gotta sell, you gotta do the books. You're constantly prospecting, you're constantly meeting new people, you're constantly building relationships. And then you got to go late at night when nobody's watching. You got to get on YouTube and you got to figure out how to build a damn app. Right. Like I got people in my business that I own a financial services company, and I have about 1,500 agents, and we have 55 locations. And we, there's a lot of people that throughout these years of technology that they're getting left behind. They're getting left behind because they're not adapting. And it's interesting to me because a lot of these people are not independently wealthy. They don't have the freedom choices and the options. So I love when I see somebody like you, independently wealthy. You got millions of dollars in properties and you're fine. At the end of the day, you're financially free. And you could, if you really had to, you could sell the property. If you really had to, you could just live on the cash flow from the properties, whatever. But the truth is that you were willing to go down to the bottom and start all over again. I always, tell my guys when they're recruiting and we're looking for new agents, like some of the worst recruits that you can ever find are the people that they're already wealthy. They already have enough money. They already think they made it because they'll never go down to the bottom and go work it again. They'll never go real, at least most people. You're definitely an outlier for sure to go back and hustle it again and get after it again and go for it, which is admirable because most people would not go do that. And so anyways, I love to hear when people are willing to go do what's necessary, whether they feel like it or they don't. Because I'm sure there's a lot of times you didn't feel like it. You're like, what am I doing, man? This is like humbling here. And why am I doing this? And you did it because you had a dream and you had a desire and you wanted to make progress. You had a mission, that you had a vision of where you're going to go. And and you went and did it. And that's beautiful. And so then you get this app and it started working. So kind of GreenPal, just so everybody gets a clear picture, GreenPal is like Uber for landscaping. And tell me if I'm saying that right. Is that how you guys picture it a little bit?
That's right. DoorDash, Instacart, Postmates, Uber, any of these conveniences we have to make real world things happen. GreenPal is that for lawn mowing. So rather than calling all over the place trying to get a lawn care service, you just download GreenPal and you get 5 that you can choose from, and they come out and take care of it for you. And it's funny, the vision my team and I had in 2013 when we started this business is the same damn thing we're working on here a decade later. Like, we are like a 10-year overnight success. Now 300,000 people are using this thing every day to get lawn mowing. Started off really humbly with like 20 people, but it's like the vision it was the same then as it is now. Now the way we've gotten here has meandered and the path has iterated a million times, but that was what we set out to start, and that's what we're still working on now today, a decade later. How do we make ordering a lawn mowing service cheaper, faster, smoother, more convenient, more reliable, more efficient? And even though we got 300,000 people using it, we're still just dropping the bucket for how much grass is getting mowed that we don't power.
Yeah. I mean, and so it's really a business that will never stop. It's kind of like if you cut hair, hair is going to continue to grow. Grass continues to grow. So everybody's going to for the rest of their life, they're going to need to cut their lawn. If you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. If you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.